All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to this time together. This presentation that I've prepared for you is we're going to talk about ley lines and portals, but we're going to touch on a number of different other subjects in the midst of this, and we'll do bigger deep dives in the future. But I just want to give you an introductory into these things that are around us that some of you will be aware of. Some of you may have had an encounter but couldn't explain what that was, and some of you might be quite up and into all of this. So but this is an introductory so that people can start to be open to these aspects of the things that are around us, that are in the spirit, and how we can engage with them or become aware of them. So ley lines and portals, guys, here we go. So what are they? Ley lines is, this is the beauty of the earth. The earth is a living, breathing, it's was created by the creator, and it has an incredible purpose and function. Now, ley lines can be referred to as meridian lines, which a lot of people are more familiar with, but they're also invisible lines of energy or electromagnetic lines that crisscross the earth. Ley lines can vary in sizes and purpose and power. And they have a number of different names as well, depending on different cultures. So they can be called song lines, they can be rainbow serpent lines, they can be called dragon lines and holy lines. So the how, what of ley lines and what purpose. The earth is, again, I'm going to reiterate this because the earth is alive and living, and it's an intricate part of how the earth moves and flows. And as I was writing this, I got this picture in the spirit. It's like the creator was saying, it's just like our body. Our body has so many things happening with it. And it's, we're not even aware of a lot of the things that our body does. And we are, we're walking miracles. We're incredibly and awesome made. And so is the earth. And part of the transition that we're all going into is coming back into connection with creation and the creator. So ley lines carry energy. They've been found to connect spiritual sites and historic sites, prominent landmarks, power sites, and natural landmarks. Alignments on ley lines generally consist of 5 or more sacred sites. So let me explain how I ended up connecting with ley lines. In about 2007, I was, doing things in the spirit in Melbourne. And all of a sudden I walked out onto this street, and all of a sudden it's like the ley line opened up to me, and I could see all these beings walking along this. It was a ley line that was a highway, right? Because there's different sizes. And it was a highway of a ley line with all these people walking on it in the spirit. And I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And the spirit started to talk to me about ley lines. I had never heard of them before. I had never heard the word before, but this is how the spirit speaks to me, okay? And he started talking to me about ley lines, and he took me on about a 6-month assignment of learning about ley lines. And he was showing me where they were. And, there was this really big one that I was standing on the edge watching people like just going back and forwards across this ley line. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool, but what's going on here? And from that, there's a couple of things that happened that I want to share with you. So I then, now I don't know if many of you realize, once upon a time before we had mobile phones and, you know, Google Maps, we used to have a Melways or a paper map, or, you know, driving, what do you call it? Like a, what were they? Here in Australia, they're called Melways or Brisways, or, you know, New South Wales book of all the streets and everything. That's how we used to navigate where we had to go to, right? It's in a book form. So anyway, I was led by the Spirit to go and buy a couple of these books, and I started pulling out the pages and started connecting all the pages in, like, it was really big, and God started showing me ley lines that were in Melbourne. And it was a fascinating, and I really enjoyed doing this assignment. And he started showing me that where there is prominent ley lines, there is always like churches, a number of churches along that ley line. There were hilltops, there were mountains, there were sacred sites, there were Freemasonry buildings. You know, it was like, oh my goodness, this whole other dimension opened up to me, because I became aware of how they are all connected. They all sat on this same pathway or highway, and it wasn't just one or two. Some of them go around the world, and they're all sitting on this one ley line that travels around the world. And then I started to notice what had happened in that time was yoga studios started popping up, and they were all positioned on these ley lines. And some of them were positioned where ley lines cross over in like a crossroad. And I was like, I was really fascinated by it. It was really incredible. So that was part of my introduction to ley lines. And then I'll share the rest with you as we go. So I'll just read off here quickly. Like pathways or highways, they travel through the landscape. Now, ley lines run in both directions. Remember what I said, they travel around the world, and they can be on the earth, they can be under the earth, or they can sit just above it, which I found really interesting, and it's really fun to engage with. And they can be used for good, or they can be used for evil. Now, ley lines contain a number of different aspects. They can contain portals, they can contain gateways, doorways, or vortexes. And these were fun to kind of learn about and engage with. So all connect to outer dimensions, spiritual realms, other realms, and they can be open to different entities to past and present, to travel on them or come through them. Okay, so stay with me here. Why do they have different names? Well, different names depends on the different cultures that have connected with them. Song lines or energy lines, earth meridians, rainbow serpents, is actually what the originals call them, as in here in Australia. Dragon lines, which is connected with Chinese feng shui, they are really big, powerful lines. So they are really dominant ones. And then we call them ley lines, which is Western culture, or holy lines. So more so in Australia, it's more the song lines and the ley lines, holy lines. And different cultures name them by their understanding and their culture. I'm just giving you a few here that I know of. I'm sure if we did a huge deep dive, that it would open up to a lot more. The power of the ley line depends on the location, the size, the purpose, and the length of time it has been there. The size width is determined by the amount of energy surging on it. So we can recall, some of them are like ancient paths. They've been there for, since the earth was created. And then there's lots of activity that has happened on that ley line. And as I said, dragon lines hold the most powerful energy. So portals can occur when ley lines cross over each other, depending on the size of the ley line cross. Other determines the size of strength of the portal. So let me give you an example here in Australia. We have a place called Byron Bay. It's very famous. Lots of people know about it. Byron Bay sits on a number of crossroads of ley lines. And what's really interesting about this town, because it's actually got a portal, a big portal, and I've stood in it, and I'm sitting there looking at everything that goes on in Byron Bay. Now, Byron Bay is known for being very alternative. It's got lots of drugs, it's got lots of hippie content, but it's also very open to like all different types of religions and beliefs. And I remember sitting in this portal, and the spirit was showing me things. I'm like, well, what's going on here? Like, what is the attraction to this town? Because people come from all over the world to come and visit Byron Bay. Now, it is a beautiful place as far as the beaches and its surroundings. It's a really lovely place naturally, but there's always a draw card. There's always something happening in the spirit which draws people. And it's because it's on the ley lines and it's got an open portal. So it's got a lot of different energies around it, and people are tapping in or connecting with the energy that's there. And that's why they've got such a diverse, culture and different people demographics, and very, yeah man, it's really cool, let's all just chill, like it's got that real laid back vibe. But underneath there is some other stuff that's not so nice, and that's because it is an open energy portal. So portals often serve as doorways, and they have different purposes, and they have different feeling about them, a different energy about them, and these are all the things that as you move in the spirit that you can learn to identify. So they represent different purposes. So again, the portals or ley lines, they're doorways, they're gateways, they're portals, they're bridges. So this is a portal that opened in North Brisbane. I actually took this photo myself, and what was really interesting about this portal was there was a group of us doing some very significant spiritual work in North Brisbane. And we sat in it for a couple of days, and this is what began to appear while we were in it. And I just find this really profound. And the fact that, I was a part of that, this is not a picture from Google or someone else. This is what I was connected with, and we were doing some really big work on the north side of Brisbane. And then this is what manifests from it. So this picture here, I got this picture of clouds, but I want to share another experience that I had. Is that one day I was driving my car, and I was in a certain spot in Brisbane, and all of a sudden I felt to unwind my window and put my head out the window. Now, I don't normally do that, and I stuck my head out the window and I looked up at the sky, and I had a full-on face peer through the clouds. And we made eye-to-eye contact. And I was driving, looking at this face going, oh my goodness, like, and it was a really beautiful face. It was very big and very clear. And then as I kind of had to look where I was driving again, I looked back and it had disappeared. So I wasn't tripping. I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. This was definitely a spiritual encounter. And there are times that that face reappears to me when I'm on different types of assignments in the spirit. And it was, I wanted to put the cloud there for you guys to see that, you know, anything's possible when you're moving in the spirit. And when you have eyes to see, or you feel that nudge, you can encounter some pretty amazing beings and pretty extraordinary events. So this was the portal again in North Brisbane starting to disperse because the work that we had done was finished. This is a fire portal where, if you can see, can I show? Let's see, just here, right? This is the beginning of an angel appearance, right? So you've got some originals actually worshiping, and they're, you know, standing in front of the fire. And a fire can actually be a portal as well, guys. So this is the beginning of what was happening in this time. This is an original photograph as well. I'll give you the series of this. So there it is again. And see, look, the angel, look, this up here. Right now, this was a very special time out at Illaroo, and near Illaroo. And it was a real gathering together of the originals and coming into unity in there, because there is a bit of disunity, and that's all starting to shift. And then here it is again, but look what's appeared above it. That was not there before, guys. So, and I want to share, I want to say this here, it's not always captured, but this is how I see things in the spirit. It can be as clear as that, sometimes clearer, but that's where part of how I see, yeah? Now, this photo, this is a very special friend of mine having a meeting, and she was on the floor with her hands up, and someone took a photo, and this is what they captured. This is not Photoshop. This is a genuine photo, and this is the power that was coming from her hand. And this is create an orb or a portal, and it was there for a reason. And I'm at a later date, I'm going to go into a bit more depth of the power that we have, the power that we carry. And then this is where people's lives can be changed. This is that sometimes it's a healing orb that comes through your hands like a heat, but this is what it looks like. So I just wanted to share that with you, because that's just so special and just so profound. And she is an amazing lady. What she carries is just incredible, and she's a very, very special friend of mine. Here's another apparition of an angel. Now, this angel was sitting over a church that was in a battle with the council. So the people got into prayer, and this is what started sitting above the building. And with that, they won the battle. So I'm showing you this because it's really important that you realize that when we do things in the spirit, it's not a hit and miss. It has power, it has impact. And that's why the importance of us coming together in unity in one purpose and one vision, and, put all our other rubbish aside and get on with the job that needs to be done right here on this earth. So I'm going to give you I'm going to step away from that for a minute. So also ley lines, portals, gateways can, hang on, let me backtrack. The Pyramid of Giza and Mount Masha, California. I don't know if I said that right. Iluru, Glastonbury, they're all ley line connections. So often really big ley lines, they go from mountaintop to mountaintop. So let me just show this. I might have to come back to that one. So here's the Pyramids of Giza. This is Iluru. And this is Mount Shasta, is that right? And then this is Glastonbury, and which I find really interesting. Like it's like a temple on a hill. And this is Iluru. Now, what's really fascinating about a lot of these, what happens in ley lines, is that humanoid features can start to appear. So as you can see here, this is the side of Iluru. You've got the forehead, you've got the eye, the nose, the mouth, and the chin, right? And so here in Australia, Mount Timbergargan is actually a face of almost like an ape-like face, but it has very humanoid features. And you'll find trees and rocks that can have these features as well. So let me, I might just go back for a minute because I want to explain here that faces in the rocks, you can see faces in bushes as well on trees, or trees can be appeared twisted. As sometimes there's an area on the grass that's circular, and it's like the grass is not growing, but around it is, and it's circular. You're like, what's that? Rock formations have humanoid faces as well. And what I've recently learned, I haven't encountered this myself, but plants tend not to grow on ley lines. So often it's like you've got bush and you've got this track and this bush or forest, and there's this pathway that there's nothing on, but it's not being kept by humans. It's just a natural walkway. And often that can represent a ley line as well, whether they be big or small. Now, I want to touch on this fact as well. Black spots. Have you ever seen a sign when you're driving, you know, black spot, you know, warning, all that sort of thing? Often can become a portal and is connected to a ley line. Now, the council put these signs up, black spots, here in Australia. I don't know what they do over in your countries, indicated danger or a danger zone. Now, there's one that I know very well, and I couldn't get a picture of it to show you, but it's like a sharp corner, and there's this really big tree right on that corner. Well, what's happened is there's been some witchcraft done around that tree, and it then becomes a portal where it causes fatal accidents, and then it becomes a black spot because it's a regular occurrence. So that portal, that black spot, now has an entity of death attached to it, and therefore when you come into that, a lot of people come into an accident which they didn't need to have, right? So when I see those or I'm aware of those, I drive very, very carefully, like ridiculously careful. And I always go into extra protection because it has a job to do and I'm not going to be part of it, if that makes sense. Yeah. This is a humanoid features, which they refer to as the green man. Now, this guy, I always have wondered this. And what if you go through historical buildings, churches, a lot of churches, a lot of even castles and things like that, they have this face etched everywhere around the building. And I've seen it in churches. I'm like, how does this guy fit into the religion that we we've been taught. Well, ask the question no more, because this is why. So the green man, as I just said, is on every church building, castle, ancient buildings, the same as gargoyles. Well, what happened back in, centuries ago, there was a pagan religion and he was their deity. So what the churches did, the Catholic Church, they included this deity to then be able to draw the people into their fold. Now, the image is actually related to the Dagon. I've got it, can't see everything because of this menu here. Hang on. And he is the god of wine, of harvest and forest. Now, when you look into this, I found this really interesting because there's a lot of movies that have come out in the last, 10 years where they have trees with human faces, like the Lord of the Rings. They have a whole forest of walking trees. And I don't dismiss the fact that I believe that they actually were alive and real at one stage. But then there's also Groot from Jupiter Ascending. And he's this famous, character that the kids now love. Well, it's all connected to this green man, which is a pagan deity. And I've always found it really interesting and questioned as well. Why do all these churches that are meant to represent, God and Christ and the Holy Spirit, why do they have gargoyles? Right? They have demon-like statues. Well, the reason that, and I find this really interesting as well, is they have demon-like statues to protect them from evil. But you're like, but hang on a minute, the demon statues represent evil. So these are the things, guys, we got to start questioning. We got to start going, why is that there? It doesn't look right. Look at, this is in nature. This is an unnatural. This is a tree that's twisted. It looks tortured. It has a strange formation, and it can be indicated of a portal or on a ley line, right? Because trees, depending on the energy, will determine, how nature responds to it. And that goes back to how we respond to things as well, which we'll touch on again at the end. That's another picture of another tree. Doesn't it look just sad? Doesn't it just look like, oh my gosh, you poor thing? This is where I want to go and hug a tree. Yeah. So trees and rocks, if you're in tune, now this is again, the earth cries out. It wants to share its secrets. It wants to tell you what's going on. And another encounter that I had, I went to the Philippines on a big spiritual workshop that I was helping to bring to the country, to a community there. And we walked onto this gentleman's property, and I walked past this huge tree, and all of a sudden the tree started telling me what had gone on that property. And I was like, wow, it was really very specific. It showed me things in the spirit, and started telling me of the blood that had been spilt on that property. It started telling me about child torture, rape of little girls. It was pretty horrific. And I was just like, wow, it really saddened me. But we were there for a purpose. So I knew that I had to bring healing to that land. Right? So this is where the earth cries out. It will share its secrets. The spilling of the blood cries out. And it reminds me of the scripture where the blood of Abel cried out to God because of the injustice of what Cain had done. And so, these are all the things, if you've got a heart for it, if this is what some people go, I don't want to know about this, that's okay. You don't have to. But if you want to, learn about all of the things of the spirit, not just the things that are tickle your fancy or, suit you, then these are the things that are available to you. Again, they can, when we navigate these phenomena, wisdom is required in knowing the purpose of their existence, what to do, what not to do. And you've got to ask the question whether you are meant to do anything. Are you meant to engage with it? Because they are entrances or they can be an exit. So these are the things, guys, that you need to ask. Just often more than likely, my assignments are always directed by the Spirit. I don't run off with different groups that are doing all sorts of different kinds of work, because sometimes people get caught up in the doing, like to feel like they're doing something when it's not actually their calling or their purpose to do something in that situation. So that's why I go, guys, really tap into wisdom here. All right. Bridges, you know, as we know in the natural, are a representation of a crossing over. And bridges in the spirit are also allow consciousness to evolve to a higher state of being, not only in the physical, like you can cross over from one place to another in the natural, but also exists in the spirit. And, you know, depending on the situation or the circumstances that you face, if you look, you will see either there's a bridge in front of you, or you get this sense that it's time to cross over. It's time to kind of step from one plane or one realm into something different. So there's a real, you know, calling in the spirit of what to do. So spiritual portals are openings between the physical and spiritual realms. They allow beings to pass through. How are portals created? Well, this is a great question, because spiritual portals emerge because of a large change of energy, a strong atmospheric event that create a hole in the veil. And for most of you, Jesus is a very, very good example of this, right? Because, you know, what he represented was there was a, you know, as you know, the veil was torn from the top down and ripped open, and that represented an opening again from the heavens to the earth. It's symbolic that there's now this portal that's been opened, and people that connect with Jesus, he's the portal into connecting with the Creator, connecting with God. And this is where, you know, he's a very powerful connection, and some people don't go for that perspective. That's okay, each to their own. But for me personally, I've had incredible encounters with Jesus and through Jesus that have changed my life. But I also understand that depending where your belief system is, that you have not yet had that encounter, or that's, you know, because religion's being rammed down your throat, you're not open to that. But we need to be open to the things, to the things of pure light, of, you know, pure purpose. And Jesus is the epitome of a representation of a man that was in right connection and right relationship with God, Creator, and how he walked on this earth. I'm happy to emulate Jesus on this earth, because he brought solutions, he brought answers, he brought comfort, he brought love, he brought conviction and correction, and in the sense of just his being made a change. It changes you. It changed to everyone that came around him. And that's why, you know, what Jesus represents is truly beautiful and very powerful. And, you know, we can create portals by our intention, by our unity, by our purpose. And we are the portals of change. So another thing here is, you know, there's gateways and doorways in the spirit. Quite another scripture is, you know, Jesus is the door. And what can happen is, I don't do very well in nursing homes. Can I just let you know that? Or hospitals, because of the energy that's created in them. Hospital nursing homes often become a portal because of the spirits crossing over, right? What happens in a hospital for me is that there is so much grief, there's so much death, there's destruction, there's trauma. It really is a portal of not very nice energy. And I personally, I have to really protect myself when I go in there, because I feel all that. It just, I feel it, and I can walk out very heavy because of what's going on in those places. And I mean, look, I know some of it is, what we seem to think is part of life. To me, the verdict's still out on that. I don't think that it has to be like that. I think we've been designed and programmed to think that is, but really that's another subject. So we're a portal. We can be a portal of light, of love, of, goodness, kindness. Our words are portals, guys. How we speak, what we say, what we agree with, that is all co-creating in the atmosphere. It's all adding to the energy. And you either want it to be good or you want it to be bad. If you're having conversations that are fear-based continuously, then what are you generating around you? And a frequency and an atmosphere and a portal of fear. What does the word say? What you fear comes upon you. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. He's given us a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. When you are in fear, you do not have a sound mind. You can't think. You're in reaction. You're not in response. Scripture is another portal. Different books can be portals to different aspects in the spirit. The gateways of your mind, Scripture talks about that as well, the gateways of our mind. Some gateways need to be opened and cleaned out. Some of them need to be shut. So, and again, Scripture, it says, knock on the door and it will be open. Now, I want to share a story here with you about a ley line and a gateway. So, going back to my very first story that I told you about how God was showing me this ley line with all these people on it. So I was like, okay, you're showing me this in the spirit. What is it that you want me to do? And he was very specific in telling me where I had to go. And this was over a couple of days, because I'm sitting there going, okay, God, what is it that you're showing me? What do you want me to do? And he's like, okay, I want you to go to this particular train station and I'm going to show you something. I'm like, okay. He says, I want you to take a key, right? Just a normal key, an old household key that I didn't need anymore. He says, I want you to take a key with you. I went, okay, I'll take a key. Guys, I promise you, I don't take drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I'm not a wacko. I promise you. So I went to the train station that he told me to, and I had the key in my hand. And on the gate, there was a barbed wire fence, and on it was a padlock on it, locked. And I'm like, what? Like, what? It was random. It was just put there randomly. It was not in a public flow. It wasn't an opening. It wasn't anything like that in the natural. So I'm going, there's a padlock here. Like, what the heck? And then I looked up, and this huge gate appeared in the spirit. It was big double gate. And it was sitting across the railway line, okay, right where the padlock was. Okay, so the padlock's here, and this big gate was like this across the railway line. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm going, okay, what am I going to do? And he says to me, he goes, I want you to open the gate. I'm going, okay, I'm cool, I'm in. And he showed me how to open the gate. Now, let me tell you the history of what was on one side of the gate and what was on the other. In this location, one side of the gate, everybody was really prosperous. Business was booming. It was a real happening town, location, and it was just fantastic. Like everyone prospered. Now, on the other side of the gate, in the spirit, but in the natural, all the people down the other side of that train line were had poverty. Their houses were ramshackled. The people were low social economic. Like it was just and it felt stale. It felt dead, right? All those towns, because I would drive through them and go, wow, what's going on with these towns? Like they're just so sad. When I was told to open this gate, which I did, I opened the gates, and within 3 months, guys, all those towns on the other side of that gate began to prosper. Businesses took off, buildings started to happen, and they are still flourishing to this day beyond recognition. Now, the key that I was given, I did try it in the padlock and it didn't open. So if you thought that was going to happen, it didn't. But I was told to bury the key in the ground where that gate is. Now, we don't always know everything that goes on. All I know is I need to be obedient, and I'm happy to obey. I love going on assignment. It's so much fun because it's just exciting. So this is where, if you see gateways or doorways, or you're aware of this big difference in, the physical, where this town prospers and this town doesn't, right? You can have a street away. You can have one street that does, everyone's thriving and everyone's doing really well. And, they've got good relationships. They've got great family homes. And then the next street, it's just chaos. That's because there are spiritual things that are happening in the atmosphere over those places, those geographical places. Yeah. So portals and gateways and doorways can exist forever, years or only for a short time, depending on location and purpose. That gateway that I opened had been there for a very, very, very long time. I reckon it was like hundreds of years old. And it had been placed there, right? Because I went and did a big historical deep dive onto that town here, and then the towns after it. And then you look into the mayors and the people that set up that town and what their intent was. You start to get a fuller picture of, oh, that's why that's happening and that's why that's not. Yeah. So we can, sometimes portals we can open, and then when their purpose is done, then we need to close them. There are some portals that are open on the earth that are purely satanic, and they need to be closed, right? So again, another subject, but we can be aware of that. It's like Jenny was saying beforehand, there's some places I've just got to get out of, and I get that. I totally get that. Some places you walk in, you go, oh, wow. And it's like coffee shops as well. It's like, oh, wow, this coffee shop's thriving. And then it's got a coffee shop 2 doors down that does nothing, like they're struggling. It's all about the energy. It's about the food. You put your energy, your intent into the food that you create, into the coffees that you make. This is how much power that we have. Stonehenge is an example of an everlasting portal, and witches and warlocks love to tap into these areas for their rituals, etc., to access power. There's a picture of Stonehenge. This is a vortex. Now, vortexes are really interesting because they are always quite big, and they have a strong swirling sensation. And they can happen where ley lines cross over each other. Now, vial vortexes, hot spots for vanishing planes, unexpected disappearance, mechanical or instrumental malfunctions. Can you all think where that might be? The Bermuda Triangle. So that's the best example I can give you of a vortex. Sometimes you can feel a vortex, because I really do associate vortexes with more evil, because it's like you can't think, it's swirling, it's like you're disorientated, you're like, what's happening here? Like there's chaos in it, all that sort of thing. Well, that's what you've just stepped into. And you can step out of it and then look at it and go, okay, where's the root of this? So what happens is, like everything, there is good and evil, negative and positive flow of influence that occurs. A positive flow is a sense of upward pull motion, feeling of light, lifted up, encounter and ascension. It's like, wow, I feel really up. I feel really light. I feel really, you feel joy. You feel like you're over situations. A negative flow or a sense of heaviness, a downward pull, feeling defeated, or experience negative emotions, dread or heaviness. Yeah. So this is a really good indication of where you position yourself when you're facing different circumstances and situations. So, you can step into something and feel quite heavy. You feel like your life's being drained out of you. You need to stop and don't accept it. Please don't accept it. Please go, okay, what's going on here? Or get out of there and then find out what's going on. Don't stay in it. Move, whether you have to move yourself, whether you have to move your head, where your thinking is. Don't stay in it, guys, because it's a downward spiral. So you need to then go find, okay, how do I lift myself up? Now, evil uses ley lines, portals, and gateways, doorways, and vortexes to help aid them to infuse their agenda and use the natural energy of the earth for negativity and destruction. Secret societies don't want us to know these things or the power we carry to bring change. They want the earth and us, created by God, to stay in a negative, dumbed down state of mind, of spirit and action. We have, and this will be controversial, a lot of Christians or spiritual people that do not do action. They talk the talk, but they don't walk it. And this is part of the shift that we're coming into. It's time for action. It's time to awaken who you really are and start moving in that. Now, I'm going to put a cautionary there. Don't be a bull in a china shop. I used to be one of those. It's like the intent is right, your heart intent is right, but your mindset is not. Because we can go, yeah, we need to do this, and then we're coming at it without the wisdom, without the direction, and without the full support of what the Spirit is actually wanting you to do. There is a big difference, guys. There are things that I want to see happening in my life, and God goes, Dot, sit back. I've got this. I go, okay, I'll be good. I'll be patient. Okay. It's taken me 65 years to still learn that. So, don't get frustrated. If you get frustrated, then you are stepping into the frequency of fear and anxiety, which is where the enemy wants us. Yes, there are big things happening on the earth. It's okay. You're not the only one going through it. You're not the only one that's aware of it. You need to find people that are aware of it, but have the right heart and know how to take the right action. This is why I love In Power. They're taking the right action. I love the Living Free movement. We're taking the right action. We're bringing solutions. We're not all in this, fear. Oh my gosh, we're all dying. You know, oh, they're coming to get us. That's not written in my heart. That's not written in my blueprint. That's what they want you to think. Okay. So here we've got secret societies and the cabal, etc. What's really, I don't want to jump ahead of my slides. Okay, I'll go back a minute. So let me sit here for a tick. Freemasonry, secret societies, and cabals always send someone out to find where the ley lines are. And they find out where they cross, and that's where they put their buildings. Why? Because they have to access that power. Why do they have to access this power? Good question, hey? Why do they need us? So let me continue for a minute. So churches, people gather. One, they can indoctrinate us. Number two, they keep us dumbed down, but they want our energy. Arenas, people gather together, equals our energy. Where's your focus here? Well, let's go back. Where's your focus here? Where's your focus here? Concerts. Where's the focus here? People gather together, right? It's a combined energy. This is where all of these places, let me say this, is where they whip us into a type of frenzy, and they need that energy to exist. Now, I'm showing you things that can be for the negative, right? Some of the concerts, I've been to one concert in my life. I've never gone again, as in the world, because I don't get it. I don't enjoy it. And I look at the people, I go, what's wrong with you? It's like they're hypnotized. You know, the Beatles, oh, the girls are screaming and crying. And I'm going, what's wrong with you? They're just people. But that's just me. Okay, the Vatican, people gather equals energy. Now I'm going to take you down a little trip here. This is the St. Peter's, I believe it's called. Now, this is part of the Vatican. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures about the Vatican, because this is where a lot of everything stems from. Now, see this, this monolith? At the top of this is copper. What does copper do, guys? It's one of the best conductors. So what happens underneath the Vatican, if you guys don't know already, is they do sacrifices. They do blood sacrifices. They do horrific things, which is part of what we're coming out from under. Now, this is St. Peter's Square here, and I found this really interesting. Look, it's a shape of a key. Oh. And then look at this. Doesn't that look like a clock as well? And you've got a key. And you've got another dome here. So this dome is another portal. And now I found another slide of this, but I couldn't get it on here, is that on this end here, where the town is, the streets are placed in a very interesting location. And when I looked at, or shape rather, when I looked at that shape, it's actually called the Papal Cross. You guys can go and look that up. I was like, the streets are in the shape of a papal cross, which is a line with different shaped lines. Because when I saw it, I went, I know that symbol. Where have I seen it? I actually thought it was an Egyptian symbol, but I couldn't find it as an Egyptian symbol. But I'm like, I know I've seen that. But when I Googled it, it equaled a papal cross. This is here in Australia. This is Canberra. Okay, this was the old Parliament House, and this is the new one. Now, isn't it interesting? It's all in a big circle. Remember ley lines, key ley lines, there's always circles. And they've got a pyramid here and another pyramid here. And then deep down, it's got another box, a black box. This is Mount Macedon. Guys, I'm sorry, I'm showing you Australia because that's where I'm from. And this is another ley line. And they build a big cross on multiple circles. Okay, this is to generate energy. Now, on top of this, memorials are located and either have a cross or a monolith, and they bring remembrance of the dead and tragedy and negative and sad energy. Remember, the wars were all about sacrifice. They weren't about, you know, what they presented, what they advertised. It's about sacrifices, which is really sad. But that's what they create in this spot. They're feeding off your energy of negativity, of sadness, of despair, of grief. Mount Warning. Now, this is here in my where I live, near where I live. And look at this, guys. This is a humanoid face feature. Look at that. Right? So now I've got an original friend or original friend, and he lives in this area, and he's a wealth of information, and he shared with me the energy, the natural energy of Mount Warning is greater than Uluru. And I actually don't think it's been really tapped into here because we've got a lot of beautiful open space. So that's something that I'm going to do a field trip on and go exploring. Okay, their intention, sacrifice, rituals, animals, persons, negative fear, energy, steal, destroy, their curses, their vows, and their rituals, right? But we can change it. The earth's crying out for healing. Even the rocks will cry out. True alignment, true governance is what we're all about. That's the awakening. That's the shift that's coming in. We're coming into the truth of who we are and how we're meant to have dominion over the earth. We, with right hearts and right intent, bring change, bring healing to the land in alignment with creation. Why? Because we have the power. Words have the power. That's what they use. That's what we use. Okay, so recognizing portals of ley lines. Seeing or feeling a spirit or energy moving in and out of a certain area. Sometimes you can notice that the colors are more vivid. They stand out in the surrounding area. I've had that experience a number of times. I've gone into nature and then I've gone, oh my gosh, that tree's just almost glowing. So I think I'll stop there because we're running out of time. But are you all good? How's everyone traveling? You all good? Yep. Okay. So what I want to share with you, what I want to finish with you is that can you shut that down, Jenny?
Hit your stop share.
Where do I do that?
It's red and it says stop share.
Okay, hang on. I see. Okay, got it. All right. So what I want to share with you guys is we can create portals, right? We're a portal, but we can create a portal. So I know that was a bit more of a teaching, which is, a little bit harder for me to present, but I wanted to give you some facts and some awareness there. But when in your house, if you have the same place that you go to meditate or have a cup of coffee, you are actually creating a portal, because it's somewhere that you go to on a daily event where you may sit and ponder, where you may sit and think about the spirit, where you may engage with God. You are connecting a portal. You are creating space here. And one of the most fascinating portals that I have engaged with is your bed. Now, this may sound weird. Remember, I don't do drugs, I don't drink alcohol, and I'm not weird. I have, gone to house sit someone's house, and they are, this is a true story. Do you want me to really get into a real nitty-gritty true story? Okay. So I was asked to go and house sit somebody's house, and it was they only had their bedroom. So I had to sleep in their bed. Okay, you ready for this? I sleep on the husband's side of the bed. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. He was a minister. He was a pastor, right? I'm laying in his bed and I'm seeing the things that this guy is actually doing. Now, let me tell you what opened up. Number one, I saw in the spirit he was having an affair, and I saw who he was having an affair with. Number two, I saw his intention and his agenda, and like I just saw everything about this guy. Now, he was a friend of mine, like serious. I was like, what the heck? I had a feeling in my spirit. I had already had some little and I dismissed it. When I slept on his side of the bed, oh my gosh, I was like, what the heck? Now, I went, okay, I can't handle this, because it was really pornographic, right? And I'm like, that's not who I am. So I went to the wife's side of the bed. Oh my gosh. I was like, what the heck? This woman lived in absolute fantasy land. Like, it was ridiculous. It was, she continually always had her nose in romantic books, right? Mills and Boons, all those, oh, and he came and rescued me. And she was a bit airy and fairy, but I liked her. When I slept on her side of the bed, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is, and these are leaders. These were pastors in the church that I was attending. And I'm like, friggin' heck. And I'm like, I'm going to have to go sleep on the lounge. That night when this happened, they had gone overseas. I've got to be careful what I say here. They went overseas, and I sat up and I went, what the heck is going on here? Now, I'm not sharing this to scare you. I'm going to share you the whole event. Okay, guys? All of a sudden, all the wardrobe doors started opening and shutting and slamming, right? And there was scratching on the window. And I'm sitting there going, I was freaked out because I was only very young and I hadn't experienced this before. And I freaked out. I went, what the heck? I got to get out of this house. Where am I going to go? I picked up the phone, the old landline. I dialed another pastor's phone number, and I said in the spirit, if he doesn't answer it straight away, I'll hang up. Because he was a young man with a beautiful wife. They had kids, and I didn't want to disturb them at 1 a.m. in the morning. The phone didn't even ring once. He picked up the phone. And I said his name, and I said, this house is manifesting. And he goes, get your stuff, grab your stuff, get out of there and come to where I live. Now, let me tell you what was happening over the other side of the world where they were. They were being called out for their adulterous affairs. And the spirit that was operating over that couple was manifesting in the house because I was in it. True story. So we create portals, guys. We can create portals of truth or deception, right? I pray that people that ever sleep in my bed just have beautiful sleeps and, you know, feel what I feel the love, feel the peace, all that sort of thing. But your bed is a portal. What you think about, what you dream about sits in the memory of your bed, because you're there how many hours a day, how many days of the week, how many weeks of the year. Now, I don't make it a habit of jumping into people's beds to see what they're thinking. I promise you I don't. That's the same as if I go into motel rooms. I don't do well with certain types of motel rooms because they've got all that, you know, it's like you feel like you're being slimed. You know, there's all that pornographic, all that adulterous, all that sort of stuff. I just go, oh, get me out of there. But that we create portals, and we need to realize that we do. So, you know, this is where our intent, what kind of life are you building? What kind of atmosphere are you creating in your house? And if it's not positive, if it's not joyful, if it's not fun, then change it. You have the power to change it. When you walk into a room, you being the portal of life, the portal of love, you can step in and change the atmosphere. In fact, Jenny, on the very last slide, can you pull that last slide up by any chance with the little people in it? Because the presentation is, I've prepared for a workshop as well, but I wanted to share it with you, is a bit longer. But does this help? Oh, yeah. Heidi, yes. See, let your light shine. And if one can bring change, imagine how many we can do, right? So that's who we are. Heidi, let me answer that question. You can get rid of that, Jenny. Thank you. Courtrooms. Courtrooms are built on ley lines. And actually, it's really good to have a look at some of the trees around if they're country courtrooms, because you'll probably find trees that are twisted or grass that doesn't grow or humanoid features in the trees, which are really interesting. Courtrooms is the worst energy because they are under satanic control, and they are built on satanic attributes. So yes, courtrooms are terrible. In fact, mind control is the big thing that operates in courtrooms. Okay, so yeah, I've had to deal with some courtrooms in the last couple of years with what happened with the floods and the government and all that sort of stuff. Was not nice. Not nice. I had to really hold my ground in knowing who I was and that I had done nothing wrong. Yeah. Anything else? Some communities appear to be under a spell, living in fear and doubt. Can this occur if there has been tragedy which has occurred, mass killings? Absolutely. Port Arthur, totally set up, can I just say that, to then change the gun control here in Australia. Port Arthur is a little town in Tasmania. And the whole atmosphere, you know, it's like it opens up for that energy, but also it opens it up for different entities to come and sit and live, because it's now got permission. Does that make sense, guys? It's got permission to stay there because of the tragedy that's been there. And that's why sorry, I lost my track. That's why it's always about agreement. It's like if they can get somebody to do something in the physical, then it opens it up in the natural for that to be able to keep coming down. Is it the mattress, the bed, or the position in the bedroom that holds the energy? No, it's you that holds the energy. It's you being in that space is what releases it into the energy. And things have memory, right? This cup, okay, this cup was given to me at the festival by a lady that really appreciated some things that I did, and she gave me this cup. She had handmade it. It's got 18 karat gold on it, and it's a beautiful cup. Now, it holds memory. It's got memory of her making it. So when I look at this cup, that's what I remember. I remember her. So, that's why people give you things in remembrance of them. Well, you can be given something by someone you don't like. Well, what's the memory that thing pertains to you? Or if they did something wrong to you or hurt you, then there's that memory of exactly that, yeah? But items can hold spirits, definitely. Material things can hold spirits. When I went to Africa, again, I was on assignment, and someone gave me, I had people give me different things, and the spirit was really clear. He said, do not take any of it home to Australia. I'm like, okay, because I'm not a material, I don't have to have stuff, if that makes sense. So, that's where you've got to be always in tune with the spirit, listening to the spirit, being guided by the spirit. If you don't get an answer, don't act. If you don't get instructions, don't move forward. Sometimes you'll need people that need to come into your life to have the conversation to then know what you need to do. All right. Is there anything else? Can we remove these courthouse portals? Well, we can shift it. We can't remove it completely yet, because I see that we're going to come into a season where there's going to be a lot of things that have to be pulled down because of the foundation, right? And a lot of it is blood sacrifice. So we could bring healing to the land, and I've done many assignments of that, where there's been Aboriginal mass murders or just mass murders. There's schools over in America that actually need healing, because that blood's been spilt, right? And it's this, scripturally, it even says that the blood of Jesus cries out. So the blood of Jesus was spilt onto the earth. So when Jesus died on the cross, as per the scripture, the sky went black, the earth cracked. Like, there was an event. There was an energy shift, if you want to call it that occurred in that event. The Living Free Festival was an event where we created a shift, a big shift. And now we, as, the core group, have got to now go, okay, we've got to ride the shift. What does that look like? Does it mean cleaning house? Does it mean changing perspective? Does it mean redirection? Like, these are all the questions. But if you just sit in peace, God will show you. God, the Spirit will lead you and guide you. So it's not a place of angst, guys. The most important thing, and I have said this every Friday or every time we have this gathering, is you've got to know who you are. You've got to know who the Creator is for you, towards you, And then when you know who you are, you know what you carry, then you know what you bring. The stuff that I do is not for everybody. I'd love it to be for everybody, because then there's more. And when I say not for everybody, is that not everybody wants to deal with the stuff that I deal with. But other people love it. They're fascinated. They want to know more. Yeah, Jenny's one of them. They want to make a difference. To me, the best way to make a difference is what we do in the spirit realm. Right? That's always another way of bringing change. And it's so much more fun. It's not hard work. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I love the adventures I have in the spirit, and I have so many that I can share with you. And I'm having fun actually sharing them, because I've had to stay really silent for a very long time. And partly because it wasn't the right timing to share these stories. Right? People's hearts are ready now to hear a lot of the stuff that I've experienced over the last 40 years. But I'm like, come and have fun. Come and do this. Let's go on field trips. Let's talk about it. If you want to sit around and talk about your nails and your hair and, what you bought at the shops, I'm not your girl. Can I please be really honest? I'm not your girl. I like to get my nails done. I do my own hair, and I can go to the shops, but I don't really care about where you got what. I know some people think I'm not very nice, but that's just who I am. Let's get to business. Let's be down to business. Let's have fun in the spirit, because that's what makes my heart sing, and that's what makes me feel alive. Talking about your nails and your hair and what you bought at the shops, I just go, yep, okay, yep. That's what everybody's doing. I want to do what everyone else is not doing, which is having fun in the spirit and bringing change, being the change, being the authentic you, being the most powerful you, because we are powerful beings. And this is what the Freemasons, the cabal, they are so afraid of us knowing who we are, because we can shut them down in a day if we all rose up and stood together and said no. But we're waiting for more people to get on the same page, and it's okay, because we want people to wake up. We want them to become aware, and we want them to grab hold of who they are, who the creator is. He's the most incredible, awesome, beautiful person that you could ever engage with. If you want to feel loved, that's where you find it. If you don't ever want to feel alone, then that's who you find it with. I'm not looking for fulfillment from anything else apart from everything that I have already in God. And I tell you, that is a very powerful place to be. And it's a very wonderful place to be, because you draw people come into your life that are fun to be with. And there's not the drama, there's not the issues, there's not the bitchiness, there's not the, oh, look at your nails. No, look at mine. You get my drift. So guys, I hope this is, I hope I did a good job. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's only an introduction. I mean, each subject can go so much deeper, but I just wanted to give you a taste. And I'm going to work on some other things that we can start, more PowerPoints that help, right? I just want to help. All right. Love you guys. So let's do a prayer right now. So thank you, God. Thank you, God, for your amazing presence and power that is always with us. It's in us. Every cell in our body can vibrate your very presence and power. I release healing right now to anyone that needs it. I just speak healing to your body. I speak peace right now to your situation, your circumstances. I release wisdom for those that need it, for the decisions that are set before them. And Father, just open up their eyes to the things that they want to learn in the Spirit about, what they're comfortable to learn in the Spirit about, and just grow them in all that you have for them. That, you know, there's a saying that says, you can have the earth, but I'll have the universe. Well, guys, I'm having the universe. So, because there's so much amazing stuff that we can connect with. And I think, who would like me to do a really good chat about angels? All right, I'm really feeling that some in the next couple of weeks I'll do a PowerPoint about angels and get to the nitty gritty of them and how you can actually connect with them. Yeah. All right, I think that's it. I think because I could keep talking, but I won't, because I get excited. And I just love you guys again. Thank you so much. If please, Jenny, is there any way, if they have questions or subjects that they want, is there a way for that to come to us so that we can explore some of that with them? Because I want people to get what they need as well, what they're looking for. But yeah, watch this space. I'm really being, you know, spoken to by the Spirit about running a series calling Living an Integral and Diverse Life in and with the Spirit. And I've got a list of all these different subjects that we could be covering. How does that sound? Sounds like fun, eh? I'm in. Love you guys. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next week. Don't forget, you know, invite your friends. Invite those that want to hear more, you know, because the more people that learn this, the quicker we're going to move forward in what needs to happen on the earth. Yeah. All right. Blessings, guys. Love you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.